The humble offering. In the quiet outskirts of an immense interstellar empire, nestled among the soft dunes of a forgotten world, lived Liana, a gentle artisan known for her delicate touch and kind spirit. Her home was a modest dwelling built from the local stone, its walls bearing the gentle imprints of nature and time. Here, in a place where the stars whispered ancient secrets, Liana spent her days carving, painting, and creating objects of simple beauty. Each piece she fashioned held a story, a hope, a silent prayer for a kinder universe. One day, as Liana worked on a small sculpture carved from a rare, shimmering wood, a thought stirred in her heart. She had heard tales of Queen Zoria, the enigmatic ruler whose presence both fascinated and unsettled many across the cosmos. Zoria was known not only for her commanding authority, but also for her mysterious eyes that seemed to hold the weight of countless lifetimes. Yet behind the legends and the grandeur of her court, there were murmurs of a loneliness, a longing for something pure and unadorned. Liana, moved by these whispers, decided to create something that might speak to the queen's hidden self. With careful hands and a tender heart, Liana poured all her love and sincerity into crafting a small, intricately designed token, a pendant fashioned from the very essence of the dunes, set in a frame of delicate, twisting vines. It was not a gift of wealth or power. It was a symbol of hope and human frailty, a reminder that even the humblest of creations could carry the light of compassion. Every smooth curve and every etched detail was a testament to her belief that beauty could flourish in simplicity. The thought of delivering the gift to Queen Zoria filled Liana with both excitement and apprehension. The journey to the palace, located at the heart of the empire, was fraught with uncertainties. The road wound through barren landscapes, starlit valleys, and ancient ruins that echoed with memories of civilizations past. Yet Liana felt a call in her soul, a gentle urging that told her that her small offering might be the key to stirring something long dormant within the queen's heart. As dawn broke over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of soft lavender and muted gold, Liana set out on her journey. She carried only a small satchel with her most precious belongings, including the carefully wrapped pendant. The air was crisp, and the silence of the morning was broken only by the soft crunch of her footsteps on the sandy path. Each step was a mix of determination and wonder, for Liana knew not what awaited her in the sprawling palace of Queen Zoria. Along the way, she encountered a lone traveler named Varric, a humble messenger who roamed the borderlands between the common folk and the grand estates of the empire. Varric was a quiet soul with gentle eyes, carrying news and messages from distant lands. He was intrigued by Liana's resolve and offered to guide her part of the way, sharing tales of the empire and of Queen Zoria's many paradoxes. A ruler both revered and feared, a monarch whose cold exterior masked an inner void yearning for renewal. "The path ahead is treacherous," Varric warned softly, his voice barely above a whisper as they walked under the sprawling sky. "But your gift, it holds something rare, a spark of truth that our queen may have long forgotten." Liana nodded, her eyes reflecting both the glimmer of hope and the weight of uncertainty. "I believe that even the smallest offering can change the course of destiny," she replied, her voice gentle yet resolute. The two travelers continued along the winding trail, their conversation filled with dreams of transformation and the possibility that compassion could bridge even the widest of divides. As they neared the outskirts of the imperial capital, the landscape shifted dramatically. Towering spires and grand archways began to emerge from the horizon, their ancient stones bathed in the soft glow of starlight. The palace of Queen Zoria loomed before them, a sprawling edifice of otherworldly beauty, its design both intricate and intimidating. Here, legend said, the queen held court in a vast hall filled with echoes of distant galaxies and the weight of millennia. Liana's heart pounded in her chest as she approached the palace gates, the pendant secure within her satchel. She marveled at the splendor of the surroundings, the luminous flora that grew in patterns both chaotic and sublime, the gentle hum of energy that pulsed through the air, and the sense that here in the heart of the empire, fate itself was waiting to be rewritten. The palace guards, clad in armor that shimmered like stardust, eyed Liana with cautious curiosity. They were accustomed to receiving lavish tributes and grand gifts from dignitaries and nobles, not a simple parcel borne by a solitary artisan. Yet there was something in Liana's quiet determination that compelled them to let her pass. Among the guards was a young sentinel named Varric, whose eyes softened as he recognized the humble beauty of the gift. He understood in his own quiet way the power of sincerity. "Welcome, traveler," one guard intoned in a measured tone. "The queen awaits those who bear tokens of true heart." With that, Varek was led through corridors lined with ancient murals and delicate crystal formations that caught the light of distant suns. Each step deeper into the palace filled Liana with both awe and trepidation. At last, Liana found herself standing before the inner chamber of Queen Zoria. The door was massive, carved with symbols that spoke of cosmic legacies and forgotten dreams. Taking a deep, steadying breath, Liana stepped forward and knocked softly. Moments later, the door opened to reveal a room bathed in gentle luminescence, where the air seemed to vibrate with quiet power. In the center of the room, seated upon a throne that merged the organic curves of nature with the stark angles of futuristic design, was Queen Zoria. Her presence was both formidable and fragile, an embodiment of endless wisdom and hidden sorrow. Her eyes, deep and enigmatic, regarded Liana with a mixture of curiosity and distant recognition. Liana's voice trembled as she spoke. "I have come bearing a gift, Your Majesty. It is but a simple token, crafted with hope and a desire for renewal. I offer it to you in the belief that even the humblest of things can kindle a light in the darkest of times." Queen Zoria's gaze lingered on the small parcel in Liana's hands. For a long, silent moment, the only sound was the quiet hum of the chamber and the beating of hearts burdened with destiny. Then, with a slow and deliberate motion, the queen extended a hand. Her fingers brushed the delicate wrapping, and as she unwrapped the gift, her eyes softened, revealing a glimmer of vulnerability that had been hidden beneath layers of regality. In that moment, the simple pendant seemed to radiate an inner glow, as though it held the warmth of countless suns and the promise of a new beginning. Queen Zoria's expression shifted from one of guarded reserve to an unmistakable wonder, as memories long buried stirred within her. Liana stood silently, watching as the queen examined the pendant with care, her gaze tracing every carved line and etched detail. There was an unexpected tenderness in Queen Zoria's eyes, a fleeting glimpse of the person she might have once been, before the weight of power and isolation had clouded her heart. The chamber, once filled with the echoes of formality and authority, now resonated with the soft murmur of hope. As the moments passed, the queen finally spoke, her voice quiet and introspective. "This gift, so unadorned yet filled with heartfelt truth, reminds me of the beauty that lies in simplicity. It speaks of a time when honor was measured not by wealth or power, but by the sincerity of one's spirit." The words, though soft, carried the weight of an empire poised on the brink of transformation. Liana's heart swelled with a mixture of relief and quiet joy. She had not expected such a reaction from one so revered, a reaction that hinted at the possibility of change. Yet, even in this moment of fragile connection, the palace walls and the ancient traditions that surrounded them loomed as silent witnesses to the tumult of change that was about to unfold. Meanwhile, outside the inner sanctum, the palace corridors whispered with the buzz of speculation. Servants and courtiers exchanged furtive glances, and the news of the humble offering began to spread like a gentle ripple across the fabric of the empire. Some dismissed it as a triviality unworthy of the queen's attention, while others sensed that this small, unassuming act might herald a shift in the long-held customs of the realm. Vital to the unfolding drama was the quiet figure of Varek, a loyal messenger who had guided Liana thus far. As he stood at a distance, his eyes reflected the silent hope that something profound was stirring within the heart of Queen Zoria. In that instance, the humble offering had transcended its physical form. It had become a symbol, a spark that could ignite the flames of change in an empire long ruled by grandeur and excess. As Liana and Queen Zoria continued their silent communion, the gentle glow of the pendant illuminated more than just the ornate chamber. It shone a light on the possibility of renewal, on the potential for even the most powerful of hearts to rediscover the beauty of humility. In that quiet space, amidst ancient relics and futuristic marvels, the seed of transformation had been planted. And so, with the gift now cradled in the careful hands of Queen Zoria, the journey of change had begun. A single act of genuine kindness had breached the fortress of tradition, and the ripple of its impact was poised to extend far beyond the palace walls, carrying with it the promise of a new era, a future shaped by hope, compassion, and the enduring power of a humble offering. The intrigue of the gift. Queen Zoria sat in her private chamber long after Liana had departed, the delicate pendant resting in her palm as if it were a fragile flame. The chamber was a quiet haven of soft, ambient light and gentle echoes of distant melodies, a stark contrast to the opulence and rigidity of the palace corridors. The gift had stirred something deep within her, a memory of times when her heart beat with simple hopes rather than the weight of imperial expectations. Each time she traced the intricate patterns of the pendant, she felt as though she were unearthing fragments of a forgotten self. Meanwhile, in the great hall of the palace, whispers of the humble offering spread like ripples in still water. The lavish courtiers, who were accustomed to receiving treasures of immense value, could not fathom the meaning behind Liana's simple creation. Some dismissed it as an insignificant trifle, while others speculated that it was a sign, a portent that the age-old traditions of the empire might be on the brink of transformation. Among those who took a keen interest was Torin, a seasoned royal advisor known for his unwavering adherence to protocol and tradition. Torin had long served Queen Zoria, offering counsel rooted in the unyielding ways of the old order. He viewed any deviation from the established norms with suspicion, and the arrival of Liana's gift struck him as both a curiosity and a potential threat to the stability of the court. Torin paced the marbled corridors, his thoughts a mixture of skepticism and concern. "What is this token that the commoner has dared to present to our sovereign?" he murmured to himself. "It carries none of the grandeur we have come to expect. If the queen finds merit in such simplicity, then what message does it send to the empire?" Unbeknownst to Torin, not everyone within the palace shared his apprehension. Varric, a trusted aide known for his perceptiveness and warm nature, saw the gift through different eyes. Varric believed that true value lay not in extravagant riches, but in the authenticity of the sentiment behind any gesture. He recalled the quiet determination in Liana's eyes and the gentle sincerity of her voice. To him, the pendant was a symbol of lost art and genuine compassion, a beacon calling for a return to values that had been buried beneath layers of excess. One evening, as the palace settled into a hush and the sounds of feasting gave way to the quiet hum of night, Queen Zoria summoned Varric to her inner sanctum. The air in the room was cool, the soft glow of luminescent orbs casting dancing shadows on the walls. Varric entered with a respectful bow, his eyes fixed on the pendant that lay on a velvet cushion before the queen. "My liege," Varric began in a tone as gentle as the night breeze, "this gift, though modest in appearance, exudes an aura that speaks of authenticity and hope. It reminds me of a time when our people were united by simple truths rather than the lure of opulence." Queen Zoria's eyes, deep pools of mystery and introspection, flickered as she listened. "Varric, I have not felt such a stirring in my soul for many cycles," she admitted softly, her fingers still caressing the pendant. "There is something about this token that challenges the very foundation of our ways. It beckons me to remember the warmth of compassion and the quiet strength of humility." Varric inclined his head, a faint smile curving his lips. "Perhaps, Your Majesty, it is a sign that change is upon us, a gentle reminder that even the smallest gesture can kindle a revolution in the heart." While Queen Zoria and Varric shared this intimate exchange, Torin was in his private study, poring over ancient manuscripts and records of the Empire's storied past. He believed that the Empire's traditions had been forged in the crucible of hardship, and that any departure from them would invite chaos. Yet, even as he wrote his thoughts in a leather-bound journal, Torin could not ignore the undercurrent of unease that had settled over his mind. The humble offering had ignited a spark of curiosity that he could neither dismiss nor fully comprehend. "Can it be," Torin pondered aloud in the solitude of his study, "that a simple token from a commoner holds the power to unsettle the very fabric of our legacy? If Queen Zoria embraces such sentiment, what becomes of our duty to preserve the old ways?" Torin's inner conflict grew as he considered the possibility that the gift might be more than a mere trinket. In his mind, the pendant was an anomaly, a deviation from the expected patterns of opulence and formality. If the queen were to find value in this modest creation, it might open the door to new interpretations of leadership and governance, ones that were at odds with the long-held traditions that Torin so fervently defended. Over the course of several nights, as the Empire slumbered under a blanket of starlight, the intrigue surrounding the gift deepened. Courtiers gathered in hushed clusters, discussing in low tones the symbolism and the potential implications. Some whispered that Liana, the unknown artisan, was no ordinary commoner but perhaps a prophetess in disguise, sent to herald a new era of understanding and empathy. Others argued that the pendant was a mere trifle, a distraction from the real challenges that the Empire faced: droughts, border skirmishes, and the slow erosion of ancient alliances. In the midst of these swirling speculations, Queen Zoria continued her private reflections. Each night she retreated to the quiet solitude of her garden, a vast expanse of bioluminescent flora and gently trickling streams. There, beneath the soft glow of moonlight, she would cradle the pendant and let her thoughts drift like leaves on a stream. Memories of her youth, when she had ruled not from a throne of gilded authority but as a compassionate leader who walked among her people, began to resurface. The pendant, with its simple elegance, was like a key unlocking a door to a past that had been sealed away by time and duty. One crisp evening, as a gentle rain began to fall, Queen Zoria found herself unable to contain the emotions that the gift had stirred within her. She summoned her closest confidant, a venerable elder named Marin, whose wisdom had guided her through many a storm. Marin was known for his deep understanding of the Empire's history and his belief that the essence of leadership lay not in power, but in the courage to embrace change. "My queen," Marin said in a soft, measured tone as he entered the chamber, "I sense a profound change in your heart these days. Tell me what has stirred you so." Queen Zoria offered the pendant to Marin, her eyes glistening with unspoken questions. "This gift," she murmured, "has awakened something long forgotten, a call to simplicity, to the beauty of a world where every soul is valued for its truth, not its wealth. I fear that our traditions have lost touch with the very essence of our people." Marin studied the pendant carefully, his aged eyes reflecting a blend of sorrow and hope. "Perhaps, Your Majesty, it is time to remember that greatness is not measured by the splendor of our surroundings, but by the depth of our compassion. This token, though humble, carries the potential to remind us of that truth." The words of Marin resonated deeply within Queen Zoria. As days turned into nights, she found herself questioning the long-held customs that had defined her reign. The rigid rituals, the opulent ceremonies, and the relentless pursuit of grandeur all seemed to pale in comparison to the raw, unfiltered beauty encapsulated in Liana's gift. Back in the corridors of power, Torin's disquiet grew. He had overheard murmurs among the palace aides that the queen was entertaining thoughts of reform, ideas that threatened to upend the established order. Torin, ever the guardian of tradition, resolved to confront this dangerous deviation. He decided to request a private audience with the queen, determined to understand the full scope of her intentions and to caution her against potential folly. One morning, as the first light of dawn broke over the palace, Torin made his way to Queen Zoria's private chambers. The air was crisp and filled with the scent of dewy blossoms from the palace gardens. Torin knocked softly on the ornate door before entering. "Your Majesty," Torin began, his tone respectful yet laced with urgency, "I have heard whispers that your heart is leaning towards a new path, one that challenges the time-honored ways of our empire. While I understand that change may be inevitable, I fear that such deviations could lead us astray." Queen Zoria regarded Torin with a calm intensity, the pendant still resting on a cushion before her. "Torin," she replied quietly, "the gift of Liana has opened my eyes to a different kind of strength, the strength that lies in humility and sincere connection. I wonder if our empire might flourish not by clinging to the old ways, but by embracing a vision where every gesture, no matter how small, carries meaning." Torin's eyes narrowed slightly, his mind racing with the implications of her words. "But my queen," he countered softly, "our traditions have withstood the test of time. They have been the backbone of our strength. To discard them now on the basis of a simple gift could be a grave mistake." Queen Zoria's gaze softened as she considered Torin's plea. "I do not seek to discard our heritage," she explained, "but to breathe new life into it. Let us not forget that our customs were once born out of the very real experiences of our people, their joys, their sorrows, their hopes for a better tomorrow. Perhaps it is time to allow those authentic emotions to guide our future." The conversation left Torin with more questions than answers. He departed the chamber with a heavy heart, unsure whether his queen's newfound openness would lead to a renaissance of spirit or the downfall of an empire built on tradition. As the days passed, the intrigue of the gift continued to ripple through every layer of the palace. Varric took it upon himself to discreetly gather the sentiments of the common staff, who whispered of a time when their voices were not drowned out by the clamor of riches and pomp. Many recalled stories passed down through generations of a queen who once walked among them, sharing in their struggles and triumphs. Now, with Queen Zoria's contemplative gaze fixed upon the humble pendant, hope stirred anew in the hearts of those who longed for a gentler, more compassionate rule. In quiet corners of the palace, in the flicker of candlelight and the soft rustling of silks, the pendant came to symbolize not just a gift from a common artisan, but a promise of renewal. It was a reminder that sometimes the simplest things, crafted with genuine care and imbued with honest emotion, had the power to challenge even the most entrenched traditions. Queen Zoria, Marin, Varric, and even Tauren, each in their own way, began to navigate the delicate balance between past and future. The gift had sown seeds of change that could not easily be uprooted, and as the Empire looked on, the stage was set for a transformation that would test the very essence of what it meant to be united under a single, transcendent vision. And so, in the hushed corridors of the palace and the quiet hearts of its people, the intrigue of the gift continued to unfold, a mystery wrapped in humble sincerity, inviting every soul to reflect on the true nature of power, legacy, and the enduring beauty of compassion. The transformation of the Queen. Queen Zoria awoke to a dawn that felt different from any she had known in decades. In the quiet solitude of her private garden, where bioluminescent flora gently pulsed with the rhythm of the cosmos, she sat on a stone bench worn smooth by time. The delicate pendant, still cradled in her palm from the day Lyanna first presented it, now glowed faintly in the early light. It was as if the simple token had become a mirror reflecting her inner self, a self long suppressed beneath layers of imperial duty and rigid tradition. For many cycles, Queen Zoria had worn the mantle of leadership with an air of implacable authority. Her decisions were calculated, her emotions masked behind an expression of distant regality. Yet now, in the silence of the garden, she felt an unfamiliar warmth stir within her chest. The gift, crafted with pure intention by a humble artisan, had unlocked memories of a time when she had ruled with empathy and genuine connection. She recalled a past when her heart had been open, and her gaze not fixed solely on the burdens of power, but on the hopes and dreams of her people. That morning, as she allowed herself to linger in introspection, a soft footstep approached. It was Marin, the venerable elder whose wisdom had guided her through countless storms. His gentle presence brought with it the assurance of time-tested knowledge and compassion. "Queen Zoria," Marin began, his voice quiet and measured, "I have observed a change in you these past cycles. There is a light returning to your eyes, a light that speaks of the compassion you once knew so well." His words, spoken without judgment, stirred something deep within her. Queen Zoria hesitated before replying, her tone uncharacteristically tentative. "Marin, I feel as though this small gift has shattered the brittle walls I built around my heart. For so long, I have lived behind the mask of duty and tradition, never daring to question the path laid before me. Yet now I see the beauty in what seems to be simplicity, a truth that has been lost in the grandeur of our empire." She lifted the pendant once more, letting its subtle radiance fill the space between them. Marin nodded, his eyes reflecting both sorrow and hope. Sometimes, true transformation comes not from the elaborate and the ornate, but from the humble and the sincere. This token, though modest, is imbued with the very essence of what it means to care, to see the worth in every soul, regardless of its origin. Perhaps it is a sign that the time has come for you to reclaim that part of yourself. His words, like soft tendrils of light, reached into the deepest corners of her being. In the days that followed, Queen Zoria found herself drawn to the quieter corners of the palace. No longer did she insist on hosting elaborate feasts or holding court in rooms adorned with excessive opulence. Instead, she sought solace in small gatherings with those who served her faithfully and with genuine affection. She invited Varric, the perceptive aide who had first recognized the power of Lyanna's gift, to join her for long walks in the palace gardens. During these walks, they spoke of forgotten customs, of the days when leaders walked among their people rather than from high thrones. Varric's gentle insights and compassionate perspective resonated with her, reinforcing the stirring of change that had taken root within her heart. Meanwhile, Lyanna, unaware of the profound effect her humble offering had ignited, continued her own journey. Though she had long since departed the palace, the memory of Queen Zoria's thoughtful gaze and soft smile haunted her in the quiet moments of the night. She wondered if her simple creation had sparked a change greater than she had ever imagined. Driven by both curiosity and a deep-seated desire to see compassion triumph, Lyanna began to pen her reflections on art, beauty, and the transformative power of sincere gestures. Her writings, filled with quiet hope, eventually reached the ears of influential thinkers and common folk alike, spreading a subtle ripple of renewed values throughout the empire. Back at the palace, Queen Zoria's transformation was met with mixed reactions. While many among the commoners welcomed the gentle shift in their queen's demeanor, there were still voices steeped in the old ways, voices like that of Tauren, the royal advisor whose steadfast commitment to tradition had once seemed unshakable. Torin had watched the changes with growing disquiet, fearing that a softened heart might lead the empire astray. He had often argued that the empire's strength lay in its adherence to time-honored customs, that the splendor of the past was the bedrock upon which their future rested. One evening, Torin sought an audience with Queen Zoria in the quiet of the palace's ancient hall. The grandeur of the room, with its high arches and intricate carvings, stood in stark contrast to the soft vulnerability the queen now exuded. Torin's tone was cautious yet resolute as he addressed her. "Queen Zoria, I understand that you have been touched by a gift that has awakened something within you. But I worry that this change might lead us away from the very traditions that have sustained our empire for countless generations." His voice, though laced with genuine concern, carried the weight of a man bound by duty and history. Queen Zoria regarded Torin with a calm determination that had only grown in the wake of her internal awakening. "Torin, I do not wish to cast aside our heritage. Rather, I seek to restore the heart of our traditions, to breathe life into them with the warmth of compassion and the authenticity of sincere human connection. Our empire has long been defined by its external grandeur, but I believe that true strength comes from within, from the unyielding courage to embrace change when it is needed most." Her words, soft yet firm, hung in the air, challenging the rigidity of the old order. Torin's expression remained inscrutable, but in his eyes there flickered a spark of understanding, however faint. He departed the audience with a mind troubled by uncertainty, while Queen Zoria continued to nurture the transformation that had taken root in her soul. As she moved through her daily duties, she began to implement subtle changes, a return to simpler ceremonies, the introduction of councils that included voices from all walks of life, and a deliberate effort to engage with her people in genuine dialogue. Each act was a step away from the cold isolation of power, a move toward a more inclusive and heartfelt reign. The changes did not go unnoticed by the empire's subjects. In marketplaces, in humble homes, and in the quiet corners of bustling city streets, the people began to speak of a queen who now appeared more human than ever before, a ruler who listened, who cared, and who dared to dream of an empire reborn in the spirit of unity and love. The once impenetrable walls of tradition began to tremble under the gentle force of transformation, as the empire slowly awakened to the possibility that greatness need not be measured solely by opulence and conquest. As Queen Zoria's inner metamorphosis continued, the humble pendant remained a constant reminder of where it all began, a symbol of hope that had bridged the gap between a solitary artisan and an alien queen burdened by legacy. Every time she held it, Queen Zoria felt a renewed sense of purpose, a calling to mend the fractured connection between the empire's past and its future. The transformation was not without its struggles, for the old ways clung tightly like vines around ancient stone. Yet with every act of kindness, every deliberate choice to favor compassion over convention, the queen chipped away at the weight of a legacy that no longer served her people. In one particularly poignant moment, Queen Zoria invited a small circle of her most trusted advisors, including Marin and Varric, to a gathering in the palace's grand atrium. The room was transformed by soft, natural light that streamed in through open arches, the space decorated not with extravagant finery, but with simple floral arrangements and the gentle murmur of voices filled with hope. In that moment, the queen spoke not as a distant ruler, but as one who had rediscovered the beauty of vulnerability and the strength found in genuine connection. "My dear friends," Queen Zoria began, her voice carrying the weight of newfound resolve, "today I stand before you not as a queen defined by the trappings of power, but as a servant of the people, an individual who has come to understand that the truest measure of our empire lies in the bonds we share, the love we give, and the compassion we hold for one another. Let this humble gift and all that it represents be a beacon for us to return to the heart of our existence, a heart that beats with the promise of a brighter, more inclusive future." The words resonated deeply within the gathered advisors, stirring emotions long dormant. Marin, his eyes moist with unspoken emotion, whispered a prayer of gratitude, while Varric offered a gentle smile that spoke of hope and renewal. Even Torin, who had harbored reservations, could not help but feel a quiet stirring of admiration for the queen's courage to change. In the days that followed, the empire slowly began to shift its course. The ripple of change sparked by Queen Zoria's transformation spread outward, touching lives in ways both small and profound. People began to gather in communal spaces to share stories of hardship and joy, rekindling traditions that celebrated the simple beauty of human connection. The empire's vast tapestry, once defined by isolation and opulence, was now interwoven with threads of empathy, resilience, and shared dreams. Queen Zoria's transformation was far from complete, and she knew that the journey ahead would be fraught with challenges. The old order was deeply entrenched, and there would be forces determined to resist this gentle revolution. Yet, with the humble pendant as her constant reminder of the power of sincerity, and with the support of those who believed in a more compassionate way of living, she felt prepared to face whatever trials lay ahead. As the twilight deepened into a velvety night, Queen Zoria retreated once more to her garden. There, beneath a canopy of shimmering stars and the soft hum of the cosmos, she allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. Holding the pendant close, she silently vowed to honor the legacy of her past while forging a future that celebrated the intrinsic worth of every soul under her care. In that quiet, introspective moment, the transformation of Queen Zoria was complete not in a single act, but in the cumulative power of every small decision, a revolution of the heart that promised to reshape an empire. The journey had only just begun, and the legacy of compassion and hope would continue to grow, nurtured by the enduring belief that even the humblest of gifts could illuminate the darkest of paths. The rebellion of tradition. In the days following Queen Zoria's heartfelt declaration of change, the palace was abuzz with tension and uncertainty. The gentle transformation that had taken root in her soul now faced fierce opposition from those who clung to the old order. Among these dissenters was Torin, the royal advisor whose every word had once carried the weight of unyielding tradition. His concerns had grown from quiet skepticism to open defiance, and he began to rally like-minded nobles and loyalists who believed that the empire's strength lay in its time-honored customs. Torin paced the marbled halls late into the night, his footsteps echoing off cold stone as he planned his next move. "Our heritage is slipping away," he murmured to himself, his voice heavy with worry. "If the Queen continues to embrace these new ideas, our empire will lose its very soul." His eyes, dark with determination, flickered with the embers of rebellion as he resolved to confront the Queen and force her back to the ways of old. Meanwhile, far from the opulent chambers of the palace, a group of citizens had begun to stir with hope and possibility. Among them was Draxon, a forward-thinking revolutionary known for his passion and unorthodox ideas. Draxon had spent years listening to the stories of common folk, gathering tales of hardship, injustice, and dreams of a better life. When he heard whispers of Queen Zoria's change of heart, a move that promised compassion over opulence, he saw an opportunity to rally those who felt marginalized by the empire's rigid hierarchy. One cool evening, under a sky dusted with countless stars, Draxon gathered with a small band of supporters in the winding alleyways of the imperial quarter. Their voices, soft at first, grew louder as they shared their own experiences of suffering under the weight of ancient traditions. "We have long been forgotten in the name of grandeur," Draxon declared, his tone both gentle and fierce. "If our queen dares to open her heart to us, then we must stand together and demand a future where every voice matters." His words ignited a spark in the hearts of the gathered crowd, and soon they vowed to support the queen's emerging vision. Back in the palace, Queen Zoria continued to nurture the seeds of change. Her daily routines had shifted. She now spent more time among her people and less time secluded in her gilded chambers. She listened to the pleas of her subjects, learning firsthand the pain of the forgotten and the downtrodden. The transformation within her was evident in the softening of her gaze and the gentle tone in which she addressed even the humblest petitioner. Yet with every step forward, she also encountered resistance from those who felt threatened by the erosion of long-established customs. One afternoon, as the Queen sat in the palace's central atrium, a vast hall that had witnessed centuries of tradition, Torin arrived unannounced. His face, usually composed and stern, now wore an expression of barely concealed anger. "Queen Zoria," he began, his voice echoing in the silent hall, "it is time to remember that our empire was built on the pillars of strength and order. These new ways, this longing for sentiment, will only lead to chaos and decay." Queen Zoria regarded him calmly, the humble pendant resting on the table beside her as a quiet reminder of where change had begun. "Torin," she replied softly, "I have spent countless cycles listening to the voices of our people. I see a future where compassion and wisdom guide our decisions. Our heritage is not meant to be a shackle, but a foundation upon which we build a more united and just society." Her words, though gentle, carried an undeniable firmness that left little room for doubt. Torin's eyes narrowed and he stepped closer, his tone rising. And what of the traditions that have sustained us through the ages? The rituals, the ceremonies, the very essence of our identity? Abandoning them in favor of sentimental whims is a dangerous path. We risk losing not only our customs, but the strength that has defined our empire. The tension in the atrium was palpable as courtiers and servants alike paused to witness the confrontation. In that moment, Varric, who had long served as the queen's quiet confidant, stepped forward. "My liege," he said, his voice steady and clear, "it is not about discarding our past, but about finding a way to honor it while embracing the present. Queen Zoria's vision is one of renewal, not of erasure. Let us not fear change, but rather welcome the opportunity to grow." Torin, though unconvinced, fell silent as murmurs rippled through the onlookers. The debate was no longer confined to the walls of the palace. It had spilled over into the very heart of the empire. Rumors spread like wildfire along the bustling market streets and narrow corridors of common quarters. Many celebrated the queen's openness, seeing in it the promise of a future where the burdens of tradition would no longer oppress the spirit of the people. Others, however, felt a deep-seated unease, fearful that the abandonment of cherished customs would lead to an identity crisis that might fracture the very fabric of their society. As tensions escalated, Draxon's group moved to organize peaceful demonstrations in the streets outside the palace. Under the cool night sky, lanterns were lit, and banners bearing messages of hope and unity were unfurled. The people chanted softly at first, then with growing conviction. "A new dawn for our empire, a future built on compassion and truth." Their voices, united in purpose, resonated with the promise of change. Meanwhile, in the solitude of her private chambers, Queen Zoria wrestled with the conflicting currents swirling around her. The gentle transformation that had filled her with hope now faced the harsh winds of opposition. She spent long hours in meditation, seeking counsel in the silent language of the cosmos. The humble pendant, a symbol of that initial spark, lay on her bedside table, a constant reminder of the journey that had brought her to this critical juncture. One quiet morning, after a night of restless contemplation, the queen resolved to address the escalating divide within her empire. She summoned a council composed of both staunch traditionalists and progressive voices. Among the delegates were Torin, Varric, Draxon, and several other respected figures from every tier of society. The meeting was held in an ancient, circular chamber with walls etched in symbols of both past glories and future aspirations. "We stand at the crossroads of our empire's destiny," Queen Zoria began, her voice calm yet imbued with a newfound resolve. "The humble gift I received reminded me that greatness lies not in unyielding adherence to old forms, but in the courage to evolve. I ask each of you to consider, what is the true essence of our legacy? Is it the glitter of gold and grandeur, or is it the resilience and compassion of our people?" The council fell into thoughtful silence as the queen's words sank in. Torin, still visibly troubled, finally spoke. "My queen, I fear that change too swift may tear our identity asunder. We risk forgetting the values that have long been our safeguard." His tone, though measured, carried the weight of centuries of tradition. Draxon, representing the rising tide of the common folk, countered passionately. "Tradition should not be a chain that binds us to the past. It should be a source of strength that guides us forward. Our empire has always been a tapestry woven from diverse threads. Let us honor that diversity by embracing change that uplifts every soul." The debate continued well into the day, voices rising and falling like the tide. Varric sought to bridge the gap, reminding both sides that unity was the only path to a future where every citizen could flourish. "We can honor our past while creating a legacy that is inclusive and just," he said softly. "Let us not divide ourselves with fear, but unite in the shared dream of a better tomorrow." In the midst of these discussions, the Queen's gentle leadership shone through. She proposed a series of reforms aimed at preserving the core values of the empire while infusing them with renewed vitality. Small, community-based councils were to be established in every district, giving voice to the common people and ensuring that decisions reflected their needs. Ceremonial traditions were to be reimagined, not discarded, but reborn in forms that celebrated both heritage and the changing times. The proposal was met with mixed reactions. Torin remained wary, his heart still tethered to the old ways, while Draxon and his supporters welcomed the idea as a step toward a more equitable society. The council session ended with an uneasy truce, the future uncertain but charged with the possibility of transformation. As the days turned into cycles, the effects of the queen's reforms began to ripple outward. In the marketplaces, among the laughter of children and the quiet conversations of elders, a new sense of hope emerged. The empire's subjects felt seen and heard, and the long-forgotten art of community and mutual care was rekindled. Yet in the shadowed corridors of the palace, the traditionalists gathered in secret, determined to resist what they viewed as the erosion of their empire's identity. Torin, now the reluctant leader of this clandestine faction, met with a select group of loyalists one chilly evening in an abandoned wing of the palace. "We must protect our heritage," he implored, his voice a mix of desperation and resolve. "If these reforms continue unchecked, we risk losing not only our traditions but the very essence of what makes us who we are." His eyes burned with a fervor that belied his inner turmoil. The clandestine group resolved to stage a demonstration of their loyalty to the old ways, a protest meant to remind the queen and her supporters that the past still held power. However, in the midst of their planning, word reached them of a large-scale rally organized by Draxon and his allies in the heart of the capital. The common people were gathering in droves, their voices united in a call for change and a future that celebrated both history and progress. The two sides, once disparate in their visions, were now poised on a collision course that threatened to split the empire apart. The streets filled with people carrying banners and lanterns, their chants rising into the night. On one side, the traditionalists, led by Torin, marched with solemn determination, invoking the pride of generations past. On the other, Draxon's supporters moved with an exuberant energy that celebrated the promise of a renewed future. As the day of the great demonstration dawned, the tension was almost tangible. Queen Zoria, ever the beacon of hope amid the storm, stepped forward onto a balcony overlooking the vast square where the two forces had converged. The sight of so many souls, united yet divided, moved her deeply. She knew that the time had come to make a choice that would shape the destiny of her empire. With a calm yet resolute voice, Queen Zoria addressed the assembled crowd. "Dear subjects, I stand before you not as a distant ruler, but as one who shares in your hopes and your struggles. Our empire is built on the strength of our traditions, but also on our capacity to change and to grow. Let us honor our past by forging a future where every voice is valued, where compassion and wisdom guide our way." Her words, resonant and clear, swept across the square like a gentle tide, touching the hearts of those present. In that charged moment, the old and the new met. Torin's eyes, filled with a mixture of sorrow and reluctant understanding, met Draxon's fiery gaze. For a heartbeat, the divisions blurred as both sides saw in Queen Zoria's face the possibility of unity. Though the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, the seeds of change had been sown deep within the empire's soil. As the protests slowly dissolved into quiet conversation and tentative reconciliation, the rebellion of tradition revealed its true nature. It was not merely a battle between the old and the new, but a struggle for the very identity of a people seeking to reconcile the weight of history with the promise of tomorrow. The empire, once rigid and unyielding, now stood on the brink of a transformation fueled by the voices of all its citizens. And so, in the heart of that ancient land, amid the mingling of hope and despair, the rebellion of tradition became the crucible in which a new era was forged, one where the humble gift of a simple artisan had set in motion a revolution of the heart, uniting an empire in the shared dream of a future that honored both its past and its limitless potential. The dawn of a new era. In the quiet aftermath of the great demonstration, the empire stood at the crossroads of destiny. The fervor of the people had given rise to a new hope, and the palace that had long been a bastion of tradition now pulsed with the energy of change. Queen Zoria, having weathered the storm of dissent and rebellion, now prepared to usher in a future defined by compassion, unity, and sincere connection. The humble pendant, the spark that had ignited this transformation, rested on her desk as a constant reminder of the journey that had begun with a single, unassuming gift. The council chamber, once an arena of heated debates and clashing ideologies, was now filled with a palpable sense of cautious optimism. Representatives from every stratum of society, traditionalists, reformists, commoners, and advisors, had gathered to witness the final step in the transformation of the empire. Among them were Torin, whose once resolute conviction in the old ways had been tempered by the Queen's unwavering empathy; Draxon, the passionate revolutionary whose voice had rallied the common people; Varric, the gentle mediator who believed in the beauty of inclusivity; and Marin, the venerable elder who had guided Queen Zoria through her inner metamorphosis. Queen Zoria rose from her seat at the head of the chamber, her presence both regal and humble. The soft glow of the pendant illuminated her face, reflecting a quiet determination that resonated with every soul present. She began, her voice gentle yet resolute. "Dear friends and loyal subjects, today we stand on the threshold of a new era, a time when our traditions, though dear to our hearts, must be woven together with the threads of compassion and progress. Our empire is not defined solely by the opulence of our past, but by the strength and unity of our collective spirit." As her words hung in the air, a hushed silence fell over the chamber. The Queen continued, "I have heard your voices of hope, of fear, of yearning for a future that honors our legacy while embracing the possibility of renewal. The humble gift I received from a kind artisan long ago has shown me that greatness is not measured by extravagance, but by the sincerity of our actions and the depth of our empathy. It is time for us to build an empire that cherishes every life, that values the hidden stories of our people, and that nurtures the spark of human connection." At that moment, Liana, the artisan whose gift had set all of these changes in motion, was escorted into the chamber. Her presence was a quiet testament to the power of a single, heartfelt act. She stepped forward, her eyes full of gentle resolve, and spoke in a soft tone that carried across the room. "I never imagined that a simple creation could speak so deeply to so many. This pendant was made from the materials of my homeland, with the hope that even the smallest offering might inspire change. Today, I see that hope realized in each of you, in the unity that now fills this room." The crowd stirred with emotion, and even those who had once clung desperately to the rigid traditions felt their hearts soften. Torin, standing near the back, found himself grappling with a profound internal conflict. His entire life had been devoted to preserving the customs that had long defined the Empire, yet the undeniable transformation in Queen Zoria and the visible impact on the people compelled him to reassess his own beliefs. After a long moment of silence, he spoke, his voice wavering but earnest. "I have always believed that our past was our anchor. Yet, I see now that clinging too tightly to what was may blind us to what could be. Perhaps it is time for us to honor our heritage not by resisting change, but by allowing it to breathe new life into our traditions." The chamber erupted into a quiet murmur of agreement. Draxon, his eyes shining with renewed fervor, added, "Our empire is a tapestry of diverse voices. The time has come to weave these voices together, not in discord but in harmony, so that every thread contributes to the beauty of the whole." His words resonated with the many common folk who had come to the capital, and the energy in the room shifted from tension to hope. Varric then rose to offer his perspective. "Change is not a betrayal of our past, but a natural evolution of it. Our traditions were born from our collective experiences, and they can grow and adapt to reflect our current truths. Let us forge a new path that honors both what we have been and what we aspire to become." Queen Zoria listened to each voice, her heart swelling with gratitude and determination. She knew that the path ahead would not be without obstacles, but the united front before her instilled a confidence that transcended old divisions. "Today, I propose that we form a new council, a council that bridges the gap between the wisdom of our ancestors and the innovative spirit of our future. This council will work to integrate the cherished elements of our history with new practices that ensure every citizen is heard and valued," she declared, her voice imbued with both hope and resolve. The proposal was met with applause, tentative at first but growing in strength as the realization of a more inclusive future took hold. Marin, with his deep knowledge of the Empire's ancient lore, spoke next. "I have seen the tides of change many times in my long years. Each time there comes a moment when the old and the new must merge, creating something stronger than either alone. Let this be that moment, when our shared wisdom lights the way to a future filled with possibility." As the council session continued, detailed plans were laid out. Community-based assemblies were to be established throughout the Empire, allowing local voices to guide decisions that affected their daily lives. Educational reforms would honor the Empire's rich history while fostering critical thinking and empathy among the young. Ceremonial traditions, once marked solely by grandeur, were to be reimagined as celebrations of unity and mutual care. Every proposal was debated with passion, yet with a newfound respect for the diverse perspectives that now coexisted within the Empire. Outside the ancient walls of the palace, the people of the Empire felt the winds of change ripple through their lives. In bustling market squares and quiet villages alike, conversations turned from cautious skepticism to genuine excitement about the promise of a better tomorrow. The once distant dream of a compassionate, united empire was now becoming tangible, a reality born from the courage to embrace vulnerability and the determination to build bridges across old divides. In the weeks and months that followed, the reforms initiated in the council began to reshape daily life. Communities organized festivals that celebrated not only the empire's storied past, but also the vibrant, evolving cultures of its people. Local artisans, inspired by Liana's simple yet profound creation, began crafting works that told the untold stories of their lives, stories of struggle, love, and hope. These artistic expressions, shared openly in communal gatherings, served as a testament to the power of a humble act to inspire a collective awakening. Queen Zoria herself became a symbol of transformation. She was no longer the distant, enigmatic ruler of an empire defined solely by its external splendor. She had become a leader who walked among her people, listening to their stories, sharing in their joys and sorrows, and working tirelessly to create a legacy that honored every life under her care. Her transformation, sparked by a modest gift, had redefined what it meant to rule, not through the imposition of power, but through the gentle strength of compassion. Torin, once the staunch defender of rigid tradition, found solace in the gradual but undeniable changes taking place. In time, he became a respected voice within the new council, his deep knowledge of the empire's customs serving as a bridge between the past and the future. His journey was one of personal reckoning, a slow, introspective acceptance that growth often required letting go of what once seemed unassailable. Draxon and Varric continued their work among the people, their efforts ensuring that the reforms were not merely the rhetoric of a single moment, but a living, evolving part of everyday life. They organized gatherings, shared stories, and fostered dialogue that nurtured the collective dream of a society where every voice mattered. These small actions, multiplied across the vast expanse of the empire, slowly but surely transformed communities, weaving a new fabric of unity that was both resilient and tender. As seasons changed, the empire itself transformed. What was once a realm defined by opulent ceremonies and unyielding hierarchies evolved into a land where the echoes of ancient traditions merged with the vibrancy of modern aspirations. The legacy of Queen Zoria's journey, ignited by a humble gift, became a beacon for generations to come, a reminder that true leadership lay not in the accumulation of power, but in the willingness to listen, to adapt, and to care deeply for every soul within one's realm. In the twilight of a warm evening, as the empire celebrated its first anniversary of the new council, Queen Zoria stood on a balcony overlooking a sea of lanterns and smiling faces. The night air was filled with gentle music, and the soft murmur of voices united in celebration. In that moment, the queen allowed herself a quiet smile, a smile born from the knowledge that change, though often born in struggle, could blossom into something enduring and beautiful. Holding the humble pendant close to her heart, Queen Zoria whispered softly, "This is only the beginning. Our empire, our family, has been reborn in the spirit of unity and love. Let us honor our past by nurturing a future where every heart can shine." And so, with every act of kindness, every shared story, and every courageous step toward understanding, the empire entered a new era, an era of hope, of resilience, and of boundless possibility. The legacy of a simple gift, given with genuine love, had transformed not just a queen but an entire civilization, proving that even in the vast expanse of the cosmos, the smallest acts of sincerity could illuminate the darkest of paths.